Sometimes it seems like all I do is buy tractors. So we got another one here. This is almost a holy grail type tractor, at least for personal. If you know anything about Farmalls, you know that cutout right there means something. You're gonna have a hard time seeing this. Now you can see the 7 right there. That's 7568. You can see it a lot better right there. This is a 4-digit serial number, Farmall M. This is right in the beginning of January of 1940. So this is technically a second year of production, but the first year they only built tractors for about 6 months. I mean, it's within the first 12 months of production, if you want to call it that. These are very hard to find. And finding a 40 that has that top plate is even harder to find than a 39. They made 7,239 Farmall M's in 1939. They changed the top plate style at serial number 9286, meaning only 2,039 M's were built in 1940 using the top plate from the 39s. They would have switched in approximately the first week of February. Now, there's about 16 million things that are different on a 40 or a 39 this old. Something you don't see very often. The tractor serial number and the engine serial number actually match on this tractor, which is really strange. The reason it's strange for those to match is because the U-series power plants or power units, such as like a U6 power unit, would be in the same serial number bracket as the engines that go in the tractors. So as production goes on, you have more U power units being made over the course of time, and the tractor serial numbers get farther away from the engine serial numbers. With this one being such a low tractor, they still match. I've seen them pretty close before, but I've never seen one match. So first thing is you got a oil filter. This oil filter is bigger around and shorter than a regular M. 90% of them are going to have a mag on them. This one's obviously had a mag because now it has a Delco. You should have, if you saw my 40H, you should have Zeus fasteners that are a quarter turn and they just come out. On an M, usually you have a little bump out right here on the bolster. This is smooth on this one. That's because it's a 39. The radiator drain is on the right side, not the left side like typical is. This front gas tank mount is entirely different. The early ones are stamped versus the later ones are cast. The PTO is different and it's hard to see on here, but this one, the arm goes vertically instead of this way, which you can see it like that. And I'll show you a picture of what the regular ones look like. So on the early one, you saw that the engagement lever rides on a parallel axis to the shaft, versus on the later style, you see the shaft that the engagement lever rides on is on a perpendicular path to the PTO shaft. They had a lot of trouble with these because the early ones just had a gear that moved up and down on that shaft and just locked into the gear on the shaft. So they had a tendency to break. They were just a really simple design. I've not seen one of these apart. I should take one apart probably sometime so I can know what it looks like. But these were a lot more reliable. They didn't break nearly as often, and a lot of tractors got upgraded to this design later on after their original style got broken. Something else you see sometimes on these is, especially on H's, you'll have a smaller PTO shaft instead of the standard size PTO. There's a smaller size. Most of the F20s have them, F12s, F14s, and some H's and M's have them with the flat style PTO like this. This is different, but I'm not sure if that's right or not. I need to do a little more research. On the later tractors, the rod goes out that side and goes up, so there's a rod, instead of coming straight off like this. That way you could activate it from the seat instead of having to get off it. The drawbars are much thinner, which you can see this one's been ripped in two and various other things welded onto it. This isn't the correct seat for this. I'll see if I can find a picture of the right seat. So this top plate and seat style ends at serial number 9286, making this one of the rarest M's you can look for. But this is a Monroe Easy Ride on an adapter bracket to fit this. These top plates have the shift pattern cast into the top of them right there. When you see one that's got a push button like this, that is normally one that's had electric start added to it at a later date. I believe with this tractor being a kerosene tractor and a 40, this is more than likely a tractor that was hand start only. Which is further added to, I've never seen a bracket like this behind or between the steering post and the light bar. I've never seen that before. So I'm assuming maybe that has something to do with being electric start as well, or electrics being added to it later, because a non-electric start tractor would not have lights. There would not be a bar here. I knew John Deere did this, but I did not know that International did it. You could order a light kit on your tractor without electric start. This hood's really torn up right here, really cut out around here. It's got some dents in it along in here. It's just kind of not right at all. And they attached this. He said they had a mirror on this. This is the non-pressurized radiator cap that the early tractors have. This is not necessarily just for a 40. I know some of the 42, 43, somewhere in there it still had that. We got a good comparison on wheels here. So this is the early style wheel. Again, they used this for a few more years, but you got the wedge lock clamp deals just like on the back wheels versus the bolt on wheels like this, which this tractor has one of each on it for some reason. Probably broke one of the other style ones, so we'll have to find a new hub. You got a couple indicators that this tractor definitely was a mag tractor. One, your power wire runs up there. It doesn't route through the rest of the harness. The harness comes in across the top to up here to the generator. I think this is, we could probably read the tag here, an automotive generator. Yeah, we're not gonna be able to see that in the camera. Anyway, I think it's an automotive generator that's being used because this has been converted to 12 volt. And you can see the booger welded generator brackets and the fact that it's got a spacer on it here, and they've used a piece of baling wire to attach the voltage regulator to the generator. You know, all of those indicate there's something else going on there. We're missing the clippy deals that hold the wiring onto the valve cover. Allegedly this motor has been apart, and the rear end had been rebuilt in this tractor not too terribly long before it got parked. The story is it was in a barn. Older gentleman owned a farm, farmed until he couldn't. His wife farmed for a while for him. He had a day job or something. Wasn't a very big farm. And then he died or something, and she wasn't able to farm anymore. And the tractor this was mainly run by her. It was her tractor. And so it got parked in a barn. And then many decades later, barn fell in, tractor got drug outside. When in the process of all that, the muffler got knocked off of it, and now the motor's stuck. So we're gonna pop the plugs out of it, see what it looks like, and go from there. If it doesn't look very bad, we may see if we can get it unstuck tonight. We got plug number 4 out. No sign of rust at all. Maybe the light corrosion mark there, but that's actually a pretty good looking plug considering. There's cylinder 2. Cylinder 3 is wanting to fight me. We're gonna spray the plug down. I had to run and get something to spray in there. That looks pretty good too. I'm feeling lucky today. Number 1 came out about the same as the other 2 have so far. Now if we can just get this one out. Well, we're almost lucky. That one's got quite a bit of rust in it. So we're gonna stick the camera to it and see what's going on in there. So it's got flat top pistons in it. That one's clean, that one's clean, that one's clean. These 2 both look phenomenal. I'm sorry, that one looks phenomenal. The 2 outer ones, the pistons are all the way up so you can't see anything, but they look pretty clean. That one looks like a sewer pipe. So I don't know what if we can work our magic or not on it, but if worst case scenario, we got to pull the head and put one sleeve in it, one piston. It's got flat top pistons that might be a little harder to find, but my guess is it's probably standard bore. It's probably still the whole 38 horsepower motor, not the Super M motor. So the brake clock's different on this too, apparently. It's of course stuck in the brake pedal, but there's nothing to grab. Usually you get a little nub to grab there, but I was just looking at these pedals. They really are in pretty decent shape. I don't think it's got a lot of hours on it, really. It's hard to see with all the moss on it, but you can feel it. It's basically just worn off right there. So this looks like somebody did a lot of clutch action and not a lot of stopping. An early style tractor like this has been on my bucket list for a long time. I've passed on a couple H's because I really wanted an M, and sure enough I found one. They made significantly less M's in 39 and early 40 than they did H's. I believe this to be one of the rarest variations of the Farmall M that you can find easily. The only thing that would be different would be some of the MVs, the high crops, and the cotton harvesters. This is definitely a to be continued if we're going to keep working on this thing until we get it running, but I don't know when the next piece of it will be. Thanks for watching this one, and subscribe to keep up with what all happens with this tractor. Thank you.